Hi, I am Aleph. If you enjoy my videos, you can motivate me to make more by liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, and donating crypto so I can get a PhD in genetics. It is widely believed that race is a social construct and not a biological reality. This view could not be further from the truth. Consider the Targaryens. They are a group of people who are closely genetically related to one another, who are inbred, and who continue to inbreed. Of course, not all Targaryens engage in inbreeding. Some, like Rhaenyra, are exogamous, that is to say, they have children with people who are not Targaryen. In her case, Harwin's strong. Nonetheless, the probability that any given Targaryen will interbreed with another Targaryen is higher than the probability that any given Targaryen will interbreed with a non-Targaryen. Let me try to formalize this set of insights. We can speak about race when we have a set of individuals who cluster genetically, using the clustering methods that I described in my video, the genetics of race, and using the Bayes information criterion to determine the number of clusters. But not only that, it must also be the case that, for each individual in the genetic cluster, they have a higher probability of interbreeding with another individual in the same cluster than with an individual belonging to any other cluster. That is quite a mouthful. But imagine it in terms of a family tree. The following images are not family trees, but they are the best images I could find for illustration purposes, without having to draw out the whole thing myself. On the left we have the Valyrian pedigree, to its right we have the pedigree of the Targaryen. To its right, we have the pedigree of the Andals, and on the right, we have the pedigree of the first men. In this diagram, every ball is an individual, the distance between balls is inversely proportional to their genetic relatedness, and the arrows flow from parents to children. Now, I know there are balls with 3 parents. But that is just because I am a lazy drawer. Bear with me for the purposes of illustration. As you can see, even though there are occasional events of admixture, the density of paths is a lot higher around those genetic clusters we previously observed. In this diagram, the Targaryen interbreed with the Valyrian much more often than with the Andals, and so the Targaryens and the Valyrians are closer genetically to each other than either of them is to the Andals. Now, obviously in the real world there is admixture between the Valyrian and the first men as well, for example, but that would be too complex to illustrate here. This pattern of clustering is called assortative mating. It occurs in all societies in the world. For geographic reasons, Japanese people are far more likely to interbreed with other Japanese people than with Congolese pygmies and have been ever since Japan was first settled. People in the US who have a college degree are far more likely to interbreed with other people who have college degrees than with homeless people. And in India, the society that is most conspicuous for its caste system, the members of each caste are far more likely to marry endogenously than exogenously. Replace our fictional races with the Indian castes, and you also get a useful illustration. Replace that with the largest racial groups in America, and you also get a useful illustration. This is why race is not a social construct, because humanity's pedigrees look more like this. Not so much like this. This is a pedigree that is meant to illustrate random mating. As a random mating pedigree becomes longer, the probability that you will find clusters of connections like the ones we saw before converges to 0. Both West Toros and the real world are gigantic, and they have huge and diverse populations. Mating will never be random, and therefore race, population structure, and genetic clustering will always be with us. We should acknowledge that diversity rather than deny it. Thank you for listening. Please counter-argue in the comments. And if you think I have no idea what I am speaking about, please donate crypto so I can get a formal education in genetics.